Somebody had a genius idea. We needed to reform the entire penal code. I mean, it's totally ridiculous. There's so much terrible old stuff in there. And so, you can, as I say, you can't trust the legislature to do it. So what they did was they appointed the Blue Ribbon Commission. And they went through and they did a pretty good old job. And they threw out a lot of these old laws that were utterly useless. And they threw out 2106. Under state law 2106 in the state penal code, it is illegal to be gay in Texas. We haven't noticed so far that this has discouraged anyone from being gay or prevented them from becoming gay. Nevertheless, it's illegal to be gay in this state. And first it went over the Senate, the more liberal of the two bodies. And the guys in the Senate just got it up and voted it through without a single change. We were all astonished. So it gets the House, more conservative. And the minute it landed on the floor, there was State Representative Warren Chisum. He is a Bible-thumping dwarf from Pampa, Texas. And he leaped to his feet and moved to reinstate homosexual sodomy in the penal code. Well, of course, all the guys was afraid that everybody would think they was queer if they didn't vote for it, so they did. And they reinstated homosexual sodomy in the penal code. Then some constitutional scholar explains to Warren that unless he also moves to reinstate heterosexual sodomy in the penal code, it's going to be declared unconstitutional as discriminatory. Well, Warren's nothing loath. He leaps to his feet and move to reintroduce heterosexual sodomy into the penal code. Whereupon a really interesting debate ensued.
Mr. Speaker, members, you better come get this amendment and look at it, because this is a significant change in the law. I want to read this to you. It's quite offensive to me to have to read it in public. That's the way we make law. We're fixing to tell you what it is. A person commits an offense if a person engages in a sexual act involving the sexual organ of one person with the anus of another. And that is a Class C misdemeanor under this section of the law.
Madam
I
Speaker,
move for adoption.
will the gentleman yield?
For what purpose, Ms. Danberg, will you yield, Mr. Chisum?
I yield.
The gentleman yields, Ms. Danberg.
Mr. Chisum, you're saying this is a significant change in the law, and yet you have it as a Class C misdemeanor. What's the penalty range for a Class C misdemeanor?
If you were in my county, it could be hanging.
Mr. Chisum, do you not
probably
know?
$500 in this county, but that's all right. And they probably would hang you for doing this in my county if they caught you.
A Class C misdemeanor is the same level of crime as a traffic ticket. Is that right?
I'm assuming that a traffic ticket, if you were doing something that they're going to fine you $500, they could probably do that. But it's not necessarily they have to fine you that much. That's a maximum. But I'd be willing to take an amendment to move that to Class A or a felony or even a 3G offense if you'd so choose to do that, if you want to do that.
You're trying to criminalize behavior between people of the opposite sex. Is that correct?
That's right.
Even if they're married?
More especially if they're married.
Even if they...
I can't believe anyone would do that if they was married.
Even if it's consensual. Is that right?
Under any circumstances. The
most gross
circumstances you can imagine.
Even if they slip. Is that right, Mr. Chisum?
Well, I guess you could accidentally speed. But a violation of the law is a violation of the law.
Okay, Warren. As to not embarrass you, we'll use me as an example. Say my husband and I were having intercourse, and he slipped. And it touched my anus. Do I need to go turn myself in to some health official?
I would suggest you see a doctor about his aim.
So in the end, they were all afraid that everybody would think they was preverts if they didn't vote for it, and so they did, and they reinstated heterosexual sodomy in the penal code. And Warren's at the front mic, and he and Talmadge Heflin, his big Christian ally from down in Houston, they are high-fiving and slapping each other on the back, which is a big double victory. And so the guys in the press box called over the sergeant at arms and said, Sergeant, we want you to go over and reprimand both those men because under the provisions of the amendments just passed by Representative Chisum, it is now illegal for a prick to touch an asshole in this state.